Hi there and welcome to the channel. I'm Slate and today I have a guide for the Conqueror boss in Immortal Codex. We're going to be going over different teams, some options, the basic game mechanics and everything like that. So without further ado, let's get started. So when you are up against the Conqueror boss, one thing to note is that it is ground tiles only, and it is effectively a swarm where you are trying to defeat the enemies before they break the wall and overrun you. So the predominant heroes that are going to be great in this are AoE fighters, and there are a few different comps that you can look at to give this a go. But essentially, if you don't have, if you're progressing through, you can still do decent just using AoE fighters. Have a little mix mash type thing. But if we look at the leaderboards, what you'll see is they are predominantly chaotic based teams using Garn, Cerberus, Ardia, Uridan, Valk and Magda. But yeah, there are lots of different options, and we're going to go and talk through. Another option is a cultist, because if you don't have that chaotic lord, you can bring that in. You can also use a nightmare team if you are progressing and early on. And yeah, we're going to have a look at a couple of different options that you can use. Like I said, what we are looking for are AoE fighters in particular, or heroes that do AoE damage. So there are a couple of defenders that you could possibly use, but they have to be ground units. Now, first up, we have everyone's free Volker. She is very good at the sort of progression comps if you're going for Nightmare, and she also helps you heal. Valkyra is absolute top tier. She makes all the leaderboard teams. She's got insane AoE damage and a very long range. We are also going to be looking at Arrogance, again another very good progression hero for a Nightmare comp. Again, he does a lot of lovely AoE damage. Then we have Abomination, again good early game. How many times am I going to say good early game option or progressive option? He's another one that you could use. Then we also have Cerberus. Cerberus is this very unique hero who does this AoE around his single tile, but he does like to die, so he is hard to stay alive. He works best in chaotic teams, but he also must have a lunacy visor on there and a tank in front to sort of help him, but it is kind of difficult, and I'll be completely honest, I have not fully worked out how to get the most out of my Cerberus. Then if we are looking at other ones, Ardia is absolutely fantastic. She also makes all the sort of meta teams. She is just a beast in so much content. Then we do have Uridan, who again is a little bit special. He does his AoE, and again, if he is very good in these chaotic comps. Next, when we are talking about heroes, you could bring in a Claw. I have used a Claw. And he does do one tile, but he's got this weird mechanic that's sort of slightly AoE, so he could be an option if you don't have anyone else. Obviously there is Lust. She does not do an AoE, but she has a crazy range, so again, if you really have to, you could. Then we have Magda, who is fantastic for this. Absolutely fantastic. Would 100% recommend if you have her. She is going to be a star. She is also in all the leaderboards. Next up, we are going to be looking for the epics. Wrath, again, if you're progressing and you're using that Nightmare team, Wrath is going to be able to help you. You could put him for damage, but quite honestly, because his damage is lacking, I would almost recommend you put him in an Invigoration set to boost one of your better heroes, such as an Arrogance. When I was first starting Codex, what I did was I ran this and I put him in a like I said, in an Invig to boost my Arrogance's damage. Then we do have two more heroes that are very worth mentioning. Estrid, who does AoE and also defense down, and she's got a nice range. She's like a mini Arrogance in her range that goes that wide. And also Aatrox, who is like a mini Cerberus and a mini bomb, but he is slightly easier to use and slightly faster turnaround. They're going to be your main fighters and stuff like that. I mean, you do technically have Nash, but I really would not recommend bringing in a Nash. Then for defenders, interesting enough, there are basically 3 that I would pull out. First of all is going to be Cyrus, and he actually does really well if you build him for damage. 100% just build him for damage. He can actually hit quite hard. Next is obviously is going to be Garn, who is the star component of a lot of these meta teams, because of his Lord bonus, and also being a defender, he can help protect Cerberus and help move the fight forward. We then have Reeve, who does some really nice AoE slows and controls. So if you are running a cultist team, you may decide to bring him in for that little bit of extra oomphies. And then I would also say you've got Constance, and this is simply because she does bring in that boost, this inspiration. So if you are needing that little bit of extra damage and struggling, you may decide that you're going to bring in this ground unit to help boost your team. Now, talking of boosting teams, what I will say is if you are using cultists, you may decide to bring in a Lord, Morrigan or Demi, or even Aeon or Abizu, just so that your units get the Lord boost. You won't be able to place them because there's no platform tiles, but it really can be worth it. They're the like main heroes to like pull out, and this is what I mean by if you are progressing and stuff, that what you want to do is just literally bring in who you've got. So let's say, you know, you might decide you're going to do this with a Valk and an Aatrox. You could run that as a team. If you are like, okay, well let's say I've got loads of cultists, and let's say I had Magda as well. Let's pretend Zealous is Magda. Then it'd be like, okay, it's worth sacrificing that one thing. And this is the thing, is that obviously the meta teams, they are going to look completely like the same basically until someone figures out a new meta or a new hero comes in. So understanding what you want to try and do is the way to do it. Anyway, what we are going to do is have a look at a couple of those teams and how they can like work. So let's start with what I'd call like the progression one, which is going to be your Nightmare squad. We're going to bring in Wrath, bring in Volker, bring in Arrogance, bring in A-Bomb, and then who do we feel like bringing in? We'll bring in Valk because we know she's great, and let's say you have an Estrid as well. In terms of like gearing this kind of team, because this is not necessarily like meta and everything like that, you're going to really want to be boosting the damage that you do have on your best heroes. So I would recommend bringing in Wrath as well as Volker into an Invigoration set, and then your main DPS, which is going to be an Arrogance, put it in your best DPS. Here I've got Soulbound Arcana and Valkyra as well. Now ideally they would both be in Realm tier, but I only have one, so I stuck it on Arrogance, and then I'm going to use Eye of Sin on Valk. Sort of like next tier down, we've got another Soulbond on Estrid and a nice Infernal Roar on A-Bomb. Cool. So in terms of placements for these heroes, now you could also bring, instead of 2 Invig, you could do 1 Invig, 1 Morale. It depends where you're at. We are going to put down our heroes, making sure that Invig goes on those main ones, and then we'll drop down the others as they come. So yeah, like I said, the main aim is going to be to get to the boss as quickly as possible and then nuke as many enemies as you possibly can. Now, if you're wondering like, oh, why use Invigoration over another DPS unit, that is going to be really dependent on where your account is. And what I mean by that is if you have really solid DPS, then you may find that actually boosting that DPS is very good, or bringing in multiple options is going to be better. But if you've only got, say, 1 or 2 heroes that are very good, then you're going to have to try and like maximize their damage. So that is going to very much be dependent on where your account is at, basically. And yeah, now in terms of like ult timing for this one, to be completely honest, this kind of team where all your heroes are behind the wall, you can just let them basically hit as much as you want. This is a very, very simple strategy, and I'm going to let it run very quickly right now so you can speed watch how this one goes. So yeah, that is the run. We got double S+, which is a pretty decent score for a non-meta team, to be completely honest. But yeah, if we look at the stats, again, those 2 fighters are doing the majority of the work. And that's why I would definitely say you want to make sure that if you've got those, that you can like boost them effectively. So that's why I would definitely recommend. But yeah, now we are going to move on to a cultist team. Okay, so if we look at the gearing for a cultist team, pretty much Valk, Arrogance, whoever else extra that you're going to be bringing in, ideally you'd have a Magda and a Uridan, because that would be beautiful. But honestly, if you're getting to that point, you might be doing a chaotic team anyway. But the sort of 3 newbies, Cerberus, who is our weird one, he has to be in a maxed out lunacy visor for you to even sort of stand a chance. Really, again, he sort of needs to be like A5 type thing. I don't know, all the top teams run him at A5. I kind of struggle with him. That might have something to do with it. I don't have a max guild either, which might also be the problem, but yeah, he does still do decent damage, but you want him in a Soulbond Arcana, focusing on really high attacks. I've got him at 23.9k attack, some nice speed, some okay crit damage, and then you want to make sure he's got some HP to actually survive. So again, 64,000 HP. Is kind of the sweet spot. Now for your Aatrox, he is a pop and drop bomb, so you want a load of crit damage and attack as well. That is sort of how he is run. Put him in an Eye of Sin because he then increases the AoE damage, and he's gonna die. Like he's a little bomb. You literally just bloop, extra damage. Then for your Reeve, well, this is sort of where it's interesting. You can go damage on him, to be completely honest. You can build him in lots of different ways. Actually, let's have a look and see if anyone on the top teams has a Reeve that we can have a look at, because what I tend to do is I just get him to rage as much as possible with some attack. Here we go. Yeah, so he's got full tank build, but with attack subs and rage. Cool. So one way that you can build your Reeve is exactly that we saw on the leaderboard. You're looking at a tank set, Guardian, Immortal Warrior with his exclusive artifact, and just trying to get him to rage as much as possible. So actually putting him in a rage build like this is probably a little bit better, but looking for those attack substats. Now, another way that you can build him is to go full DPS, but you are going to want to make sure you have a maxed out tuning crystal, because this will help him restore HP for a percentage of the damage dealt. So we're actually going to give that a go for this run, because why not? It's fun. To try things out and do things like that. So we're going to just put this tank build on there, and I think we're going to build him probably in a Soulbond Arcana, because he's going to be ulting a lot. With attack bonus, might as well have some HP and some rage. Cool. So that would be a full damage rebuild with the tuning crystal. So yeah, so and Demi you can't place, so you don't even have to, whatever cultist lord, they don't yet have a ground cultist lord, so she's literally just coming in for her bonus, and that is about it. So in terms of placements, what I would recommend is one big DPS there, one big DPS there, your Reeve goes there, and then Cerberus will come down in this spot. Now, if you have like an A5, like superstar, just go for it, put him down immediately. I do not, and so I tend to find that he will die too quickly if I place him during this like bar phase where you're trying to get to when the boss rush starts. So yeah, Reeve does a nice amount of damage, and being that close to the portal, he can knock quite a good few enemies back, which is nice. Come on, Reeve, you can do it, I believe. So yeah, now we ult, let them do their thing, and then when enemies start to like come to the wall thingy, that is when we will drop down our Cerberus. Basically, like I said, if you have a better Cerberus than me, you can place him earlier, but just in my experience, I have found that he then just dies and I don't get him back for when it would be good to have him, basically. So now that there are enemies coming in, that is when we are going to start to let him go down, basically, and hope that he stays alive. So yeah, and then what we're going to do is, again, when we start to get overrun, that is when we're going to drop the Aatrox bomb, or actually we can, you know, like replace things. So yeah, I'm going to remove myself and we are going to speed watch this run. So I can see Sub just went down. Definitely place Aatrox in front. Now, one thing you could do is be a little bit more calculated than me and make sure you do Cerberus's ult right when he is about to die. That is another way that you can boost your damage a lot better. Here we are trying to do it again. So yeah, that is basically the basics of that. You can make it a lot better than what I have just showed you. But again, that's an option. That's an option type thing. All right. Next team. Chaotic. I'm going to do the exact same thing. But what we want to do this time is, ideally you would have a Gon. Like, ideally you would have a Gon, because he's better than Valderon. But we're going to be running a Valderon because we want things to stay alive. I say stay alive. Valderon doesn't actually help at all. Like, at all. So, don't know why I'm bringing him in. But this is what you would do, the same thing. And of course, this would be like a Uridin. Obviously, this will be a Gon. So we'll pretend Valderon is a Uridin. We'll pretend Arrogance is a Ardia, and you know, you had a great thing. So yeah, this would be my chaotic team type thing. So again, yeah, we're gonna go with the similar placements, but this time, because we have more DPS, we can put Valderon there, and yeah, now we just run it, and we're gonna do the same thing again, whereby Serby Boy will go down here in the middle, and Aatrox will pop and drop when needed. So let's watch this speed run now as well. Another double S run. And like I said, I'm sure you can get more out of your Cerberus if you time the ults better. As in, you ult with him when you do it. Okay, now one final thing to do in terms of showing off some different builds is there are two other defenders like that I said that we talked about. Obviously Garn, similar, but unfortunately I don't have them to show you guys. Next is going to be Cyrus. Put him in full DPS. You're looking at attack and different things like that. Now because he he ults with his skeletons and stuff, but it's not necessarily an attack, I would recommend Infernal Roar, but like, to be completely honest, I sometimes get confused between who goes in Infernal Roar and who goes in Solemn Arcana. So essentially you just want to DPS the bejesus out of it and build whatever you can. Now if you had another Tuning Crystal, definitely recommend putting him in that over anything else. Astral Obelisk is another option. You could put him in Bloodlust Phylactery, but I don't have it leveled, so if you've got that leveled, definitely that is an option. And then Constance, like I said, if you are looking for a ground inspiration unit to boost your heroes, maybe you decide that you only want to bring in space for one hero to use things, then definitely putting her in a invigoration set, full attack, nice amount of rage regen if you can. This is a bit low on rage regen, to be honest, because ideally you just want her ulting over and over and over again. And then in terms of artifact, her one for stuff like that is going to be Astral Obelisk, but like I said, Cyrus is currently in that, so she is in her version of one. So again, yeah, artifacts, you can play around with them. So it might be like, okay, well, I'm going to put Reeve into different things like that and play around, and just, this is where the sort of finessing is. Okay, so in terms of placements for this team, we want to make sure that Cyrus is on the front so that he is able to spawn one of his skeletons. I would definitely recommend Constance going either here or here, depending on your heroes, but if she goes here, it means that she can put her her inspiration boost onto Cerberus when he goes down. And then we actually forgot to put down Valderon, so I'm going to very quickly change that up to make sure that Valderon can go behind the wall as well. But obviously this would be better off done, like I said, if you had a Garn, so then you wouldn't need a Reeve, you could use something else. But yeah, that is going to be placements. Again, we're going to drop down Cerberus here and see how this team does. I will just pop it again to say, one of the things that you do want to try and do is line up the ultimates with Constance's ult so that everyone is getting a little bit more damage. Obviously not Reeve, because he don't need it. But one thing you can do just to make it easier is to just like hold it and then hit the little ultimate button when everyone is ready to go, which will happen any second now. And we can just go, yep, see, they're all here, and we can hit ultimate and they will all pop. So anyway, yeah, back to the run. So yeah, okay, so yeah, obviously that team did not do as good. But that is basically how I would place a Constance and a Cyrus down. So yeah, that's basically everything that I can currently think of different heroes, how to place them, how to gear them, how to like do stuff, and different things like that. You may decide that you want to put Valk in that middle lane so that she can revive the tank when it goes down. You might decide that you are going to take a timing note and see when your Cerberus dies and hold the ult until just before he dies to make sure that comes through. Yeah, there's a lot of different components with this, but essentially what you are trying to do is maximize your AoE damage and defeat as many heroes as you can in the time given. So that is going to wrap things up for today's video. I hope that this helps going through all the different options and placements and ideas. Thankfully, this is one of those stages that is quite easy to play with, which I kind of like, and there will be a unique combination that helps you boost your own score. So do let me know in the comments below how you're getting on, who are the stars of your teams, different things like that. But anyway, that is going to wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next video and the next live stream. So until then, take care and bye for now. A guide for Immortal Codex as in specific words are hard.